Okay, good afternoon. We have quorum, and I would like to start. As I said at the outset this morning, as the first thing in the afternoon, I will look at some summary records and one ComDoc. So I hope you have had time to look at the summary records. So before us, I have CoP20, COM1, Rec 5. So the summary record of the 27th November morning session. I would like to open the floor for any comments on this summary record document. The floor is open. Thank you. I see Australia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We would just like to make a small amendment on page 4, item 114, eels. In paragraph 2, is it possible to please remove Australia from this paragraph with the other countries, as Australia did not intervene for the same reasons as the other parties as listed? And if I could propose a sentence at the end of that paragraph, which would read, Australia was concerned listing would shift trade pressure from well-established eel fishery management practices, comma, towards parties which do not yet have robust management arrangements in place, and consequently increase the potential for unsustainable harvest. As such, full stop, as such, Australia's position was the more effective approach to global anguillid eel conservation was to adopt the resolution in agenda item 87 for all anguillid eels. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can you please read that out once more so that the other parties can understand that?
So the new sentence would read, Australia was concerned listing would shift trade pressure from well-established eel fishery management practices, comma, towards parties which do not yet have robust management arrangements in place, and consequently increase potential for unsustainable harvest, full stop. As such, Australia's position was the more effective approach to global anguillid eel conservation was to adopt the resolution in agenda item 87 for all anguillid eels, full stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. I think we have captured that. You also sent it to us. Thank you very much. I have the European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I have one small amendment on page 3, agenda point 91, with a list of parties that supported the renewal of the decisions. We have the European Union and its member states, and our delegate said, and the Caribbean part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and in the document it says including. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I got that. United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. We just have some amendments to 66.2, trade in asexually produced stony corals on page 3. Under the paragraph beginning with the United States of America, after expressing concern, we would insert that the proposed definitions do not capture all the nuances of, and then strike out everything to resolution comp 10.16 on specimens of animal species bred in captivity. Full stop there, period. And we would continue that paragraph with the United States noted the proposed definitions are inconsistent with information in Resolution Conf 12.3 on permits and certificates, period. And then following that, we would state the United States proposed to draft a possible new decision to continue discussions in the next intersessional period, comma, but did not receive support, and everything would continue from there. I can repeat if that's necessary. Thank you.
Just once more, and then I think we will have it.
Okay, I'll just read it all together. The United States of America did not support the definitions proposed in the document, expressing concern that the proposed definitions do not capture all the nuances of Resolution Comp 10.16 on specimens of animal species bred in captivity, period. The United States noted the proposed definitions are inconsistent with information in Resolution Comp 12.3 on permits and certificates, period. The United States proposed to draft a possible new decision to continue discussions in the next intersessional period, comma, but did not receive support. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. We got that. Okay, so the committee agrees on CoP20, COM1, Rec 5 with the amendments proposed by Australia, the EU and the United States. We now turn our attention to CoP20, COM1, Rec 6. So I see China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China would like to put on record the rationale of our proposal. I would like to point your attention to page 1, Rec 6, the last paragraph, the paragraph that starts with China. I would like to amend it to like as follows. China stressed that CITES resolution shall not create any de facto convention duty on parties that goes beyond the purview of the convention, comma, and therefore proposed amendment to differentiate the reporting requirement between CITES listed and non-CITES listed anguillid species, period.
Can we have that once more, please?
Okay. China stressed that CITES resolutions shall not create any de facto convention duty on parties that goes beyond the purview of the convention, comma, and therefore proposed amendment to differentiate the reporting requirement between CITES listed and non-CITES listed anguillid species, period.
Thank you, China. We got that. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say something about the paragraph that starts on page 1 and then goes to page 2. And I thank the Secretariat for the wording they did, but we do have a suggestion. It was about the concerns of the European Union. So at the very top of page 2, after 20.dd, we suggest to strike through the rest of the sentence and to replace it with the following. As it is clear that all European eels raised in aquaculture also originate from the wild. And then it carries on, the proposed deletion of paragraph B was not supported. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. We got that. Thank you. So seeing nobody, no other party taking the floor, the committee agrees on CoP20, COM1, Rec 6 with the amendments proposed by China and the EU. Now we turn our attention to CoP20, COM1, Rec 7, United States.
Thank you, Chair. Page 4, 88.1, the report of the Standing Committee for Sharks and Rays. If you go to the very last paragraph, it ends with New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And I'd like to insert some text right after the United States, so get rid of the period and insert due to the discussion regarding coastal states as the exporting states, and that's in quotations, had been discussed already at length in the Standing Committee Intersessional Working Group on Sharks and Rays at SC 78. Period. And I can repeat that if you need.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the United States, get rid of the period and add, due to the discussion regarding coastal states as the exporting states, and that's in parentheses, or in quotations, had been discussed already at length in the Standing Committee Intersessional Working Group on Sharks and Rays and at SC 78, period. Thank you.
Okay, we got that. Thank you very much. I have the nomenclature specialist.
Thank you, Chair. Also on COM1 Rec 7, page 3, the third paragraph, it says a zero annual report quota. That should be export quota. And the exact same replacement also needs to occur in the 7th paragraph. Thank you.
Well, that would be quite a new term within CITES. Thank you very much for spotting that. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Queremos hacer la siguiente precisión. En la página 2, párrafo 8, cuando empezamos a discutir la propuesta 31, Colombia no mencionó Paraguay. Quisiéramos solicitar esta eliminación e incluir Chile y Costa Rica. Si me permite, pudiera leer la frase que inicia así. Australia, Chile, Colombia, entre paréntesis, que también habla en nombre de Argentina, Belice, el Brasil, Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, Chile y Costa Rica. Cierra paréntesis. Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much. So seeing no other interventions, committee agrees on COP20, COM1, Rec 7 as amended by Colombia, United States, and nomenclature specialist. Fauna. Okay, now I would like to turn to COP20, COM1, 2. It's the results of the work of the group on songbird trade and conservation management. So whom can I give the floor? Brazil. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The drafting group was composed of the European Union, Colombia, New Zealand, and Brazil. Together, we worked with cooperation and a rich exchange of views to develop and propose the revised set of draft decisions on songbird trade and conservation management for adoption by the Conference of the Parties. Brazil believes that continued work on songbirds is essential to address the gaps identified during the technical workshop. Although songbirds represent around 60% of all bird species and are highly prevalent in trade, they account for only 7.2% of the bird species currently listed in the CITES appendices. This discrepancy highlights the need for strengthened and coordinated action. We therefore urge parties to adopt the draft decisions contained in COM1 Doc 2. Should I proceed, Chair, with reading the draft decisions?
Yes, please.
Okay, so directed to parties. 28A. Parties are encouraged to, little a, make use of the information and implement the recommendations contained in document AC33, Doc 39, an annex of COP20, Doc 83, that resulted from the technical workshop on songbird trade and conservation, including the priority list, to support prioritization of songbird species that may warrant protection under CITES as appropriate. And little b, share relevant new information on songbirds with the Secretariat concerning conservation status, trade, protection, and legislation amongst others, for inclusion on the CITES website as appropriate. Directed to the Secretariat, 20BB, the Secretariat shall, little a, issue a notification to the parties and other relevant stakeholders urging implementation of the recommendations contained in document AC33, Doc 39, and to share their experience and lessons learned regarding trade in songbirds, and to make the responses and any other relevant information available to the Animals Committee. Little b, make the aforementioned recommendations and any other relevant information available on the CITES website. And little c, report on the implementation of Decision 28A to the Animals Committee with draft recommendations as appropriate. Directed to the Animals Committee, 20CC, the Animals Committee shall consider and review any information and recommendations coming from Decision 20BB, prioritize those actions it considers most urgent, and report to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties as appropriate. Directed to parties and relevant stakeholders. 20DD, parties and relevant stakeholders are encouraged to, little a, collaborate on and consider providing funding for the implementation of Decision 28A and the recommendations in AC 33, Doc 39, and little b, support the preparation of further listing proposals for songbirds as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil, and thank you to the drafting group for their excellent work. Now I would like to open the floor for any comments on this set of draft decisions. With the understanding that no comment means agreement on them. I see Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan appreciates the efforts of the drafting group and supports the draft decision with one minor amendment. In paragraph 20.bb, little b, Japan proposes replacing the term urging with encouraging of the draft decision. This is because the term encourage is used in 20.bb little a. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. So it would read issue, so 20bb, letter A, would read issue notification to the parties and other relevant stakeholders encouraging implementation of the recommendations. Japan.
Thank you.
Japan, I was a bit slow hitting my button, so I didn't hear what you said.
Yes. Yes.
That's clear. Thank you very much. Okay, so the committee agrees on the decisions as contained in CoP20 COM1-2 as amended by Japan, and also agrees to the deletion of decisions 18256 Ref COP19 to 18259 Ref COP19 on songbird trade and conservation management passeriformis SPP. Very good. So now we can move on to proposal documents. No, first we have to go to a working document, which is COP20 Doc 113, Taxonomy and Nomenclature of African Elephants Loxodonto SPP. So I would like to invite parties to indicate the which options on how to reflect the recognition of Loxodonta cyclotis in the appendices should be supported. So options A, B, and C. If there is support for the draft decision on data collection and analysis for 2 species of African elephants contained in Annex 1 to the document, and if you support the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 1010, Ref COP 19 on trade in the elephant specimens contained in Annex 2 to the document, and if you support the deletion of decisions 19275 to 19277. I have Congo. Congo, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Dans cette suggestion, nous soutenons l'option B. Merci.
I give the floor to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Zimbabwe is in support of option A. Thank you.
I see United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States generally supports recommendations B through D in the document. In relation to recommendation A, when considering the three options proposed in the document for how to reflect the nomenclature change for African elephants, we support options B or C, either of which would include the genus Loxodona in Appendix 1. We emphasize the importance of maintaining the intent and scope of original proposals when considering changes to the appendices based on nomenclature updates. We consider inclusion of the genus in Appendix 1 to be most consistent with how the species was originally listed and is presently listed, with all elephants in Loxodona genus included in the current listing of Loxodona africana. The Secretariat in this document also noted that a genus-level listing would best reflect the original intent of the proposal. Further, options B and C would be consistent with guidance in Annex 3 to Resolution COP924, Rev COP17 on criteria for amendment of Appendices 1 and 2. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Russian Federation.
Thank you, Chair. We agree with the nomenclatorial changes suggested, and we think that it is a good idea to separate two species of the genus Loxodonta as Loxodonta africana and Loxodonta cyclotis. The last species was described more than 120 years ago. And now we can have the tool to separate the species finally. So we appreciate the efforts of specialists of the zoological nomenclature to contribute to it as well. And the Russia support the option A with separation of Africana and Cyclotis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Nous prenons la parole pour appuyer l'option B et l'inscription du genre dans les annexes. L'option B permettra d'assurer la continuité des analyses concernant les éléphants d'Afrique tels que Mike et Etis, de réduire la charge des rapports annuels et de permettre aux États de l'aire de répartition qui abritent à la fois des éléphants de forêt et des éléphants de savane ainsi que d'éventuels hybrides de pouvoir mieux contrôler ces espèces-là. Elle préservera également la cohérence avec les résolutions et décisions antérieures concernant les éléphants d'Afrique. Nous sommes également préoccupés par la proposition d'une analyse PIC spécifique à l'espèce qui pourrait fausser les données étant donné le nombre limité de sites Mike. Nous nous inquiétons aussi de la recommandation visant à exiger une identification au niveau de l'espèce dans les saisies de grande ampleur, ce qui alourdirait la charge pour les parties et ne permettrait pas toujours de déterminer si les deux espèces sont présentes. Pour ces raisons, nous ne soutenons pas les modifications proposées à la résolution COF 10.10. Merci.
South Africa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll be brief. South Africa supports option A. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania align is safe with Zimbabwe and South Africa. We support option A.
Thank you. Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya will align with the comments made by Senegal and support option B. Chair, we are opposed to the option C as proposed by the Secretariat. We are concerned that this new option C will be confusing, and it is specifically used for countries that are range states for multiple species in a genus, but that are range states for multiple species in a genus but have a population of one species listed in one appendix. So we'll urge parties to support option B for the sake of regulating trade on the African elephants. Thank you.
Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, le Niger appuie également l'option B pour rejoindre en tout cas le Kenya et les autres pays qui ont choisi cette option, en ce sens que l'inscription au niveau du JAR est conforme à la pratique de la CITES et à la résolution de Conf 9.24, qui recommande d'utiliser des inscriptions de taxon supérieur lorsque toutes les espèces sont incluses. Cela garantit la clarté, la continuité et la facilité de mise en œuvre pour les parties, en particulier celles qui abritent les deux espèces. Donc pour cela, nous demandons en tout cas à toutes les parties de soutenir cette option B. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
I now have Zambia.
Thank you, Chair. Zambia supports option A.
Malawi.
Thank you, Chair. Malawi is for option A.
Having no agreement in the room, I think I need to have some more voices because it is almost split, and this is really a very technical issue, and I don't like to go to a vote on this one. Maybe we will have to, but I will need some more voices from the floor. I ask Sudan.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan follows the position of Kenya and Senegal, and we support option B.
Togo.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Togo se joint aux autres pays, le Niger, le Sénégal, le Kenya, pour soutenir l'option B.
Namibia.
Thank you, Chair. Namibia supports option A.
Mali.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Juste pour dire que nous soutenons l'option B, telle présentée par le Sénégal et le Kenya. Je vous remercie.
Nigeria.
Thank you, Chair. Nigeria supports option B.
Burkina Faso.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Le Burkina Faso soutient l'option B, comme le Sénégal et le Kenya. Merci.
Thank you. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia would support option A.
Uganda.
Thank you, Chair. Uganda is one of the range states with the hybrid elephants, and you can imagine the confusion in identification. For that reason, Uganda supports option B.
Canada.
Thank you, Chair. Canada supports option B or C with a preference for option C. And we also support the draft decision to amend Resolution CoP 10.10, Rev CoP 19. Thank you, Chair.
China.
Thank you, Chair. China supports the option A for the species listing. Given this is the normal way of nomenclature changes for other species before, we think there's no need to change the way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Comoros.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Les Comores, région, le Sénégal, nous appuyons l'option B. Merci.
Ghana.
Thank you, Chair. Ghana goes for option B. Thank you.
Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana chooses option A. Thank you.
Thailand.
Thailand support option B. Thank you.
Japan.
Japan supports option A. As China has already mentioned, this way is consistent with the established practice under CITES. Thank you.
Rwanda.
Rwanda supports option A.
UK.
Thanks, Chair. The United Kingdom's preferred position is option A, which seems a straightforward solution. However, after listening to the interventions in the room, and in particular from African range state colleagues, and in a spirit of compromise, we're happy to support the compromise position of option C, noting the levels of protection afforded African elephant populations under CITES. The impacts on relevant resolutions, decisions, and other processes will not be affected. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. The Gambia.
Thank you, Chair. The Gambia supports option B.
And finally, Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine, État de l'ère de répartition des deux espèces, soutient l'option B.
Thank you for waiting. We have almost an even separation in the room. The problem is I don't want to vote on that one. I really don't, because if we vote, if we have such a separation, we may end up with no decision, but we must reflect that nomenclature change in the appendices somehow. And if we vote, we may have no decision at all. So I do think my preferred way forward would be I would like to play this back to the African region, to reflect on it over the weekend, and come back on Tuesday with hopefully an agreed solution forward, because we need to have a solution here. And if we vote, we may end up with having nothing. So I would really prefer adjourning the debate on this issue and ask the African region to go back and try to find a solution here. So that would be my suggested way forward. I see Suko. Suko, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking mostly here to non-range states, non-African states, to consider one thing, and that is if you actually look at the African proponents of option A, are all the African range states with abundant and increasing elephant numbers. And I would urge the world to look at Africa in the context of not always punishing success and rewarding failure. Listen to those that have success and go with what they are suggesting. Thank you.
Sorry, Suko, that is not helpful. With this, we are not going to reach a consensus here. So I said I would prefer adjourning the debate and asking the African range states to go back and to try to find a solution and come back on Tuesday, hopefully with a way forward. In relation to the other issues we have to look at, I would like also to wait for them until Tuesday. So I would adjourn the debate on this matter and hopefully come see the African region coming back with a compromise here. I see Senegal.
Monsieur le Président, je ne sais pas si la région Afrique trouvera une solution, mais je pense que les positions sont très tranchées sur ces trois options-là. Et je ne pense pas qu'on puisse déroger sur l'option B proposée par un certain nombre de pays ici présents. Mais de toute façon, si vous décidez qu'on puisse réfléchir sur le week-end, je ne m'y oppose pas, mais je ne pense pas qu'on trouvera un consensus par rapport à ces trois options-là. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est comme a dit mon collègue du Sénégal, les positions étant très tranchées, nous devons revenir à la pratique menée par la Convention. Il y a une résolution CONF 9.24 de la COP17 qui recommande d'utiliser des inscriptions des taxons supérieures. Pourquoi aujourd'hui devons-nous nous mettre à nous débattre sur ça sans respecter les prescriptions antérieures au niveau de la Convention? Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Congo, also on this, there are differing views in the room. So I cannot judge that. I have the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Chair. Probably it is a subject for a working group. I don't know, but it's just my opinion.
Thank you, Russian Federation. If I look at the mood in the room, we have 50, more or less 50-50, so I don't think there's really a will to have a working group to reach a compromise. South Africa?
Chair, we agree with your proposal that Africa meets because conversation is useful, particularly in fora like this. And I think we must not be hopeless about what can develop from that kind of discussion. We must try and fail, but not fail to try. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kenya?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as we support your proposal to have the range states meet, just like Congo and Senegal, this is a subject that we've handled throughout our engagement before the COP, and we've not gotten to a consensus. And that's why, in the absence of the consensus, Chair, it should not be lost to parties that Resolution 9.24 says in Annex 3 that if all species of a higher taxon are included in Appendix 1 or 2, this should be included under the name of the higher taxon. So as we go to retreat to try and build a consensus, let it not be lost to just that this will be a reference. If, for example, if we fail to come to a compromise, what will happen? I think we should not lose this Resolution 9.24. I thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Kenya. So you would also agree that we give you a little bit more time to sit together to reflect whether you can find some way forward, which I proposed. Is that correct, Kenya?
Kenya, no, Chair, I think I will not deny that we have agreed on many aspects, and the thing I'm trying to reiterate is the statement by Congo, that the verdict could be the same, but let's give it a try. But if the verdict is the same when we get back, let us make reference to 9.24 to make us make a good judgment for the elephants. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya.
No, I'm asking if you send them away or they...
Okay, so I would, in that case, adjourn the debate and ask the African group to reflect on these three options, but also on the decisions and at the other work in letter A, B, and C, no, B, C, and D of this document, so that you can come back with a common understanding, hopefully, and we will have to think about how we deal with this when you come back. Okay? So discussion on Doc 113, Taxonomy and Nomenclature of African Elephants, is adjourned until next week. So now we turn our attention to CoP20 Prop 9, Certharium simum simum, the southern white rhino. It is a proposal submitted by Namibia, and it is to amend annotation A9 for Namibia to enable trade in rhino horns with conditions, hunting, trophies, and live animals for in situ conservation only. I give the floor to Namibia to introduce that document, that proposal.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, fellow distinguished delegates. Proposal 9 is prepared and submitted by Namibia to amend the annotation of the population of Certharium simum simum of Namibia listed in Appendix 2 for the exclusive purpose of the following, of allowing international trade in A, live animals for in situ conservation only, B, hunting trophies, and C, trade in rhino horn stockpiles owned by the government and the private landowners originating in the state, that is, excluding seized horns and horns of unknown origin. Based on assessments of this proposal by other parties and organizations, Part A and B seems not to be problematic. Therefore, in the interest of time, we'll focus on Part C of the proposal. Chairperson, let me be absolutely clear from the outset. Namibia's white rhino population is growing. It is not small, it does not have a restricted range, and it's not in decline. Parties recognized this at COP19, and the Secretariat itself had stated, and I quote, "Overall, the parties have already determined at COP19 that they did not consider the population of Namibia to be small, to have a restricted range, or to be in decline." Taking a similar approach, the biological criteria for retention of specimens of hunting trophies or rhino horns in Appendix 1 do not appear to be met, close quote. This is a critical starting point. If the biological criteria for Appendix 1 retention are not met, then the true precautionary question before us is not whether trade should exist, but what form of trade best secures the long-term survival of this population. Today, under the current listing, we face a dangerous and unsustainable paradox. In economic terms, the dead rhino is worth more than the live rhino, as the value of the horn on the black market is magnitudes higher than the live animal. 77% of Namibia's white rhinos occur on privately owned land. These private custodians carry the entire cost of protection, security, monitoring, and management, yet are denied meaningful legal avenues to recover these costs. As a direct consequence, landowners are abandoning rhinos. In the last 24 months alone, Namibia has lost over 100,000 hectares of rhino range land. This is not speculation, this is reality. And let us further be clear, we are losing range, we are losing space, we are losing the very foundation on which rhino conservation depends. That is why we say clearly today, we need trade for rangeland. Without economic value, there's no incentive to retain or expand habitat. Without habitat, there's no future for rhinos. To sustain Namibia's continuing growth in white rhino population, we urgently need to grow space. Habitat expansion is at a critical stage now. The window to act is narrowing, and the cost of inaction will be measured in shrinking range and declining protection capacity. If the precautionary principle is about reducing real risk to the species, then the greatest risk we face is not regulated legal trade. It is the financial unsustainability of live rhinos. Our proposal directly addresses this through two pillars. First, rigorous control and transparency. Namibia operates a comprehensive digital database covering all horn stockpiles, government and private, linked to DNA profiles, microchips, permanent marking, and audited inventory records. Every horn is traceable, verifiable, and accountable. We invite the Secretariat to inspect and examine this system in full. Transparency is not a claim for us. It is an operational reality. Second, a cautious and adaptive trade mechanism. We propose a modest pilot quota of 200 kilograms per year as an additional precautionary measure derived solely from the legally acquired registered horn traded under strict CITES permit procedures, DNA verification, and third-party oversight. This quota represents a tiny fraction of Namibia's legal stock and is insignificant compared to volumes currently flowing through illegal markets. This approach is exactly what Annex 4 envisages: proportional, controlled, reviewable, and adaptive precaution. We must also highlight that 92%, I repeat, 92% of world's white rhino population is found in Southern Africa. And this proposal enjoys strong support across the sub-region. It is grounded in the lived conservation realities of those who manage and protect these animals on the ground every day. Chairperson, for years, parties have invested heavily in demand reduction campaigns. Yet, when we assess poaching as a percentage of live rhino numbers, over the last 48 years of listing, we see meaningful improvement. Demand remains, criminal networks remain, illegal market remain highly adaptive. Under the current listing, this demand is serviced entirely through illegal trade, a trade system over which range states have no legal ability to regulate, monitor, or control once one leaves our borders. We must return to the very purpose of CITES. Its aim is to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten the survival of the species. Yet today, it is not regulated trade that threatens the species. It is illegal, uncontrolled trade, flourishing precisely because no legal framework exists to manage it transparently. We cannot DNA test what we pretend does not exist. We cannot regulate what we force into the shadows, but we can regulate what we bring into the light. By providing legal value to the live rhinos, we transform it into a renewable conservation asset and re-anchor incentives to keep animals alive, protected, and expanding their range. That is the essence of sustainable conservation. And yet, while Namibia puts forward a measurable, controlled, and
Namibia, can you come to a conclusion, please? You are already 2 minutes over.
Thank you very much. No credible replacement funding model is put forward, no practical system for sustaining private custodians, no answer to shrinking rangeland crisis is coming from those that are opposing us. Namibia is a small country, just 3 million people with limited GDP, yet we shoulder a disproportionate global conservation burden. Meanwhile, parties with vastly greater financial resources oppose our proposal while offering no workable solution to the realities we face on the ground. Chair, the choice before us is not ideological, it's practical, it's real, and it's urgent. The question is, do we continue a system that shrinks habitat, discourages custodian, and empowers criminal network, or will we support a carefully controlled, sub-regional, endorsed, precautionary model that keeps rhinos alive, expands rangeland, and strengthens conservation funding? We therefore urge parties to support Proposal 9 in the best interest of the long-term survival of Ceratorium simum in Namibia. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Namibia. I now open the floor to parties to comment. I see Senegal. You have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal remercie l'auteur de cette proposition, mais réaffirme sa position contre toute modification de l'annotation susceptible de permettre la reprise du commerce international concernant la population de Ceratorium simum de la Namibie inscrite à l'annexe 2. Malgré les efforts de conservation, le rhinocéros blanc reste fortement menacé par le braconnage et les réseaux criminels organisés. Dans ce contexte, assouplir les règles commerciales créerait des risques sérieux de blanchiment de cornes illégales et affaiblirait les mécanismes de contrôle déjà mis à rude épreuve. Une telle modification enverrait également un signal contre-productif alors que la priorité doit rester le maintien d'un cadre strict et cohérent pour la conservation des rhinocéros à l'échelle régionale et continentale. Pour ces raisons, le Sénégal appelle les parties à rejeter cet amendement et à maintenir l'annotation actuelle afin de préserver l'intégrité du système CITES et de protéger durablement les populations de rhinocéros blancs. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Before I give the floor to other parties, I would like to come back to Namibia. In your proposal to amend the annotation, I see nowhere a quantity of 200 kilo. So are you introducing an amendment to that proposed annotation, or is this just how you want to handle it in the future?
Thank you, Chair. I think it is in the proposal, but we can just make sure.
You mention it in the text where you explain, but the proposed annotation does not contain any quantity limits. So please reflect on that one.
Chair, I think it appears on page 8. Let me just be assisted by my team.
It's in the...
You know, Namibia, if you want to have that fixed, that you have 200 kilos per year, then it must be part of the proposed annotation. It is not enough that you mention it in the text explaining how you want to work on that. So it has to be in the annotation itself. So that would then be an amendment to your proposal. Just to be clear, because you have been talking about 200 kilos, and if you want to have that as part of your proposal, then it must be mentioned in the annotation itself that you are proposing here.
Thank you, Chair. I think we can have it in the annotation. Maybe because I'm having the mic, it's disappearing. But we can have it in the annotation. Thank you so much.
So you probably would have to add under C an additional bullet mentioning no more than 200 kilo, no more than 200 kilogram per annum. So that would then be part of that proposal.
That's in order, Chair. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So but it's just to be clear, if you amend your proposal in that way, you are reducing the scope because you are precising a quantity, but you will not be able to go back at a later stage into this discussion. So just reflect on that. I will take some more interventions in general, but then I will come back to you, okay? Good. I had Senegal, now I have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan commends Namibia's dedicated, efficient, and strong conservation efforts for rhinoceros. Japan would like to support this proposal under the following consideration. CITES is a convention founded on international cooperation. When a range state seeks to utilize its wildlife resources sustainably, especially for its conservation, in a manner that also contributes to community development, other parties should assist the range states to recognize and support realizing its wishes as much as possible, regardless of their own philosophy on wildlife conservation. Regarding this point, the population of southern white rhinoceros in Namibia has increased, and this proposal outlines clear pathways to implement necessary precautionary measures and ensure that the benefits derived from legal trade are effectively used to support conservation efforts and community development. Japan believes that this is a proposal that deserves to be supported for the realization. For 50 years, CITES has sought to eliminate illegal trade in rhino horn through prohibiting its trade, yet huge challenges remain. Now it is time to reconsider how to deter illegal trade in rhino horn by different approaches. According to the proposed annotation, the trade will not take place until the CITES Secretariat verifies many aspects of trade in consultation with the Standing Committee. It will take a long period to establish a process to allow trade in rhino horn, but now is the time to begin considering such processes. Further, we would like to note that to consider such process, not only the range states is responsible, but also the broader CITES community. Regarding the mechanisms to regulate trade in rhino horn, experience from the ivory trade may be informative, and Japan is ready to share its experience. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Could please NGOs or IGOs wait until I call them? Okay, thank you very much. I have Kenya.
Thank you, Chairman. Kenya have had a very successful introduction of southern white rhino in its range from number 70 when we introduced them in the 70s to over 1,000 individuals currently. Chair, poaching for rhino horn remains still a threat, and that growth in numbers has come with huge investment, including a 24/7, one rhino to one individual. And we're having rhinos in closed intensive protection zones because there's still demand for their horns. Chair, the population of Namibia's Ceratoриum simum is included in Appendix 2 for this exclusive purpose of allowing international trade in live animals for in situ conservation only. And it's for the obvious reasons that I've explained, that if you allow any form of trade, you'll introduce very serious signaling effect that will really again open up huge pressure on law enforcement. And only within the natural and historical range of the species. All other specimens shall be deemed to be specimens of species included in Appendix 1, and the trade in them shall be regulated accordingly. That is how that population was brought to Appendix 2, to allow exclusive purpose for international trade in live animals for institutions. So, just like Senegal, we really oppose allowing any trade in any specimen except live trade for to in situ conservation area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, Kenya. Now, I would like first to go back to Namibia. If you really want to amend your proposal to have a limit of 200 kilo of rhino horn per annum, if that is your wish, then we have to know that, because then it would be an amended proposal that we are looking at. It would be an amendment to your proposal, because you have been talking about 200 kilo per year.
Thank you, Chair. The quantity that we're looking at is part of the proposal under point number 11, additional remarks. The second paragraph, adaptive pilot framework, which reads, the government of Namibia proposes an initial closely monitored phase kept at 200 kgs. So that is what I'm looking at.
Yes, Namibia, that is clear. That's part of the whole proposal. But what you are proposing to have amended in the annotation to your population, there is no mentioning of 200 kilos. So if you want to have a limit there, then you would amend the proposal. Otherwise, the proposal will be as it is now, and it will be open which quantities you want to be trading.
Chair, in that case, thank you. We then accept that it be added to the annotation. That is now with the option to consult with the Secretariat to consider amendments based on the current factors at that time.
So this means we have an amended proposal in front of us with an added line under. We would have under C, trade in rhino horn stocks and so on, you would have a V no more than 200 kilos per annum.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you very much. So parties, you should now consider also this amendment in your comments, to be clear. Thank you. So now I have Eswatini.
Thank you, Chair. Eswatini is no stranger to white rhino horn trade proposals, and we congratulate Namibia on this proposal. Namibia has introduced robust control measures for the proposed trade in rhino horns. The Namibian white rhinos are well managed throughout the country at great cost and are increasing in number. The trade in horns has a great potential to support their own conservation and security and community initiatives in a way that few other species can. Having experienced the tremendous steps taken and the decision taken earlier this morning with Saiga antelope, there are obvious parallels to be drawn with Namibia's white rhinos. An important distinction, however, is that in order to harvest horns from rhinos, this can be done without killing the animals, and in fact is often done for legitimate security enhancement of the animals by removing the horns. This, by the way, is not the case with Saiga, where horns are not removed from living animals. Eswatini implores the parties to support this proposal, as successful conservation needs to be rewarded and to assist in the continued growth of this species in Namibia. Rhinos are becoming increasingly threatened by intransigence, and I repeat, intransigence, regarding innovative conservation strategies, as opposed to blind protectionism, which devalues rhinos for custodians and communities alike. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eswatini. I have Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Zimbabwe supports Namibia's proposal as amended, and Zimbabwe aligns itself with comments made by Japan and Eswatini. Namibia has demonstrated its commitment to rhino conservation in Namibia and to the rest of the world, as shown by the rhino numbers that they have as a country. We believe Namibia should be given a chance to trade, even on an experimental basis, so that this trade will guide future decision-making when it comes to rhino trade for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We recognize the success of Namibia in their management of their white rhino population, as well as all their efforts made in the continuous fight against poaching and illegal trade in rhino horn. We welcome the good cooperation between South Africa and Namibia, which has greatly contributed to the conservation of the species by reintroducing white rhino to the Namibian territory. However, we cannot support the proposal in its entirety, especially point C in the suggested annotation, even as amended, as it would lead to an opening of the international trade in rhino horn. Rhino poaching and rhino horn trafficking continue at an unacceptable level. We think it is not advisable to resume trade, as this would undermine all efforts done to reduce the demand for this project. We do not think the precautionary safeguards are met that would allow for a resumption of trade. We cannot support this proposal to remove the existing annotation or any other change that could result in a resumption of commercial international trade in rhino horn. We could support point A and B, but recall a similar proposal at CoP19, which we could only support if trade in live animals for in situ conservation was limited to within the species' natural and historical range in Africa. We can therefore only support point A with the same clarification in the annotation as adopted at CoP19, that such transfers are only to be done to sites within the species' natural and historical range in Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana wishes to congratulate Namibia for her success in conserving her southern white rhino population. We believe that the time has come to think outside the box. Incentivization at a time of reduced conservation budgets must be given due consideration. We call upon parties to support the proposal by Namibia as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Même si la Namibie venait d'amender son document en estimant, en donnant une limite, cela arriverait toujours malgré tout à augmenter la demande, et il n'est pas clair de savoir qui achèterait les cornes de rhinocéros, puisqu'elles seraient illégales, même si elles deviennent légales. Et par conséquent, nous soutenons la proposition du Sénégal et de l'Union européenne de ne pas accepter cette modification. Nous vous remercions.
Thank you, Congo. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States aligns ourselves with the comments from the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you. Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine, étant État de l'ère de répartition de cette espèce, rejette cette proposition formulée par la Namibie parce que avec même la limite de 200 kg ouvrirait la voie à une demande croissante conduisant à une pression sur la conservation de l'espèce considérée par l'UICN comme quasi menacée. À ce titre, la RCA rejette fermement cette proposition.
Thank you. Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. United Republic of Tanzania wishes to commend Namibia for its effort to conserve white rhinos. Indeed, as Botswana have put it clearly, it is high time now we support countries which have demonstrated that conservation, it is also an economic activity. Tanzania kindly requests other parties to support Namibia in their proposal to be allowed to trade at least 200 kilograms of the rhino horns. The demand in the illegal market is high, yes, but we should make sure that at least we allow them to trade because they have demonstrated the science behind their proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanzania. Zambia.
Zambia commends the efforts that Namibia has put up in the conservation of the southern white rhino and aligns itself with Eswatini and Japan, in Zimbabwe, in supporting that we allowed Namibia to at least trade 200 kilograms of the white rhino horn. Thank you.
Thank you. Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Chair. Kazakhstan support amended proposal of Namibia. Kazakhstan strongly believes that properly managed sustainable use of wildlife with properly set benefit sharing system will support conservation of species. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have 3 more speakers. Rwanda.
Thank you, Chair. Rwanda wishes to express its strong support for the proposal submitted by Namibia to amend the annotation of the population of the 1,000 white rhinos listed in Appendix 2 of CITES. We recognize the persistent threats faced by white rhino populations, particularly the escalating risks of poaching and the unsustainable costs of protection borne by private and communal custodians. Rwanda commends Namibia's commitment to conservation and the robust safeguards embedded in this proposal, including stringent permit systems, DNA-based traceability, and adaptive management measures. We are convinced that the proposed legal framework, which allows for tightly regulated trade in live animals, hunting trophies, and government-registered rhino-born stocks, will align economic incentives in favor of conservation by empowering landowners, local communities. This approach will help expand critical rhino habitats, ensuring that benefits of conservation are shared equitably. Rwanda further notes that the proposal's emphasis on transparency, international cooperation, and capacity to suspend or revise courts should adverse impacts arise. We believe that this adoptive precautionary approach is essential to safeguarding the species while supporting sustainable development. In conclusion, Rwanda urges parties to support this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. China.
Thank you, Chair. China aligns ourselves to several parties to support the revised proposal by Namibia. Considering that Namibia has already revised its proposal to trade only 200 kilograms of rhino horns per year, we think this is quite reasonable that this trade will be well managed and sustainable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now I have the last 2 parties are Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, le Niger s'aligne aux commentaires de la RCA et du Congo.
And DRC.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La RDC soutient la Namibie avec son amendement pour qu'il avance par rapport au travail qui a été déjà abattu. Merci.
So thank you for all. Now I would like to open the floor to 2 AGOs, NGOs, then I will go back to Namibia to see how we proceed. I see EIA USA.
Thank you, Chair. I'm giving this intervention on behalf of EIA and 15 other observer organizations. While we appreciate Namibia's efforts to protect its rhino, we strongly oppose the proposal to amend the annotation for Namibia's population of southern white rhino to allow for international commercial trade in rhino horn, and support the interventions made by Senegal, Kenya, Congo, Central African Republic, the US, and the EU in their opposition of trade in rhino horn. There are an estimated 15,700 white rhinos left in Africa. That's an 11.2% decline since 2023, and the lowest estimate recorded since the current poaching crisis began nearly 2 decades ago. Namibia's population remains quite small at only 1,500 individuals. Poaching and rhino horn trafficking remain major threats to rhino populations, with some range states like Namibia and South Africa still suffering intense poaching pressure. Allowing international commercial trade in rhino horn would unleash a surge in demand and increase the threats to wild rhino populations posed by poaching and illegal trade. The amendment to the proposal to limit horn exports to 200 kilograms annually fails to address the expected destructive impacts of trade. These threats would not be limited to Namibia's rhinos. All rhino populations across Africa and Asia would be impacted, and it is therefore concerning that Namibia did apparently not consult with any other rhino range states on its proposal. Moreover, the proponents' estimates of current and future demand appear to be based on illegal trade data, which is not an appropriate proxy for estimating levels of potential legal trade and fails to account for the risk of demand increasing exponentially if commercial trade is legalized. If adopted, this proposal would severely undermine ongoing demand reduction efforts and the recommendations on demand reduction in Resolution COP 9.14, risking all progress that has been made in recent years. Claims that demand reduction campaigns are not working ignore notable downward poaching trends in several rhino range states and the impacts of improved enforcement in end-use countries. In conclusion, we urge all parties to maintain the prohibition on international commercial rhino horn trade and collectively support enhanced enforcement and demand reduction initiatives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now a second one, wildlife ranching, South Africa.
Thank you, Chair. We align ourselves with the parties supporting this proposal. We planted trees today, a strong symbol of investing in the future. But I ask this room to honestly answer for themselves. How many here have invested in the future of the southern white rhino? How many carry the risk, face the poachers, or fund protection on the ground? Namibia has. They grown their population from 16 individuals in 1975 to more than 1,500 today, with further habitat available for an estimated 14,000 southern white rhino. A true conservation success story that is now stagnating and losing ground as reported. Over 77% of these southern white rhino live on private land, where the cost of securing them has become unbearable. Without sustainable financial models, custodians are being forced to remove rhino, and with each animal lost, habitat and protection disappears. Donations and emotions cannot fund anti-poaching forever. Yet many of the loudest voices here hold no southern white rhino, face no poachers, and carry none of the risk, while influencing the fate of a species they do not protect. Real conservation means empowering those with skin in the game, not those whose careers benefit from donations through a permanent crisis. If we are serious about reducing poaching, growing habitat, and growing rhino numbers, we must support legal, well-regulated financial mechanisms that reward protection instead of crime. Otherwise, we continue to punish success and reward failure. We urge parties to respect the sovereignty of range states and stand with Namibia. Vote for real conservation. Plant a tree for the future of the southern white rhino's conservation in Namibia by voting to support this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now I turn back to Namibia to see, you have seen we have quite a split room. We have a good number of parties in favor, but also many against. So Namibia, what are you proposing as a way forward? Namibia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I think we can put this to a vote, a secret vote. Thank you.
Okay, so Namibia is requesting a secret ballot to go to vote with a secret ballot. So I would like to have this clear screen. Thank you. So I invite parties who are in favor of a secret ballot to indicate that by pushing the button. Okay, stop and leave your button on. So we have Namibia, Botswana, Kazakhstan, Malawi, Mozambique, Tanzania, Eswatini, Russian Federation, Central African Republic, Nigeria, Congo, Gabon, and DRC. So it will be a secret ballot. And please be during, no walking around, everyone is seated, and please do not film during the vote. You can film and take pictures of the results, that's okay, but please don't film during the vote itself. Okay. So this is a vote for proposal number 9 on Ceratotherium simum, the southern white rhino, to amend the annotation A9 for Namibia as follows. Amend the annotation of the population of Ceratotherium simum of Namibia listed in Appendix 2 for the exclusive purpose of allowing international trade in live animals for in situ conservation only, hunting trophies, and sea trade in rhino horn stocks owned by the government and the private landowners originating in the state, excluding seized rhinoceros horn and rhinoceros horns of unknown origin, subject to the following. Only stocks registered with the government, only horns with RODES certificates, only to trading partners that have been verified by the Secretariat in consultation with the Standing Committee to have sufficient national legislation and domestic trade controls, not before the Secretariat has verified prospective importing countries and the registered stocks, and for no more than 200 kilo per annum. So it's a proposal as amended by Namibia, and also to add all other specimens shall be deemed to be specimens of species included in Appendix 1, and the trade in them shall be regulated accordingly. So if you vote yes, you are in favor of this amended proposal by Namibia. If you vote no, you are against that proposal. So the voting type will be secret ballot. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a vote on a proposal for amendment of Appendix 1 and 2, the decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. Technicians are ready, so parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Technicians, can you please display the results on the screen? Do I have my document to say what is the result? So with 31 votes in favor, 70 against, and 18 abstentions, the amended proposal Prop 9 to amend the annotation A9 for Namibia to enable trade in rhino horns, hunting trophies, and live animals for in situ conservation is rejected. I now give the floor to the European Union.
Thank you, Chair. For the sake of transparency, the EU wants to note for the record that we voted against the proposal. Thank you.
United States.
Thank you, Chair. For the sake of transparency, we also would like to note that we voted against.
United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of transparency, the UK opposed the proposal. Thank you.
Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Par un souci de transparence, nous vous disons que nous avons voté non pour cette proposition.
Kazakhstan.
Thank you, sir. For the spirit of transparency, Kazakhstan voted yes for this vote.
Lesotho.
In the interest of transparency, we want to note that we voted yes to the proposal.
Kenya.
In the interest of transparency, Kenya voted no to the proposal.
Thank you, parties. Now we move on to the next proposal, which is CoP20, Proposal 10 on Diceros bicornis to southwestern black rhinoceros. It's to transfer from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2 with an annotation to allow sale of rhino horns. This proposal has been submitted by Namibia. So Namibia, you have the floor to introduce the document.
Thank you once again, Chair. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to introduce Proposal 10, which has been prepared and submitted by Namibia. This proposal is restricted to the Namibian population, Diceros bicornis, to allow to downlist our population to Appendix 2 for the purpose of trading in raw rhinoceros horns. All other specimens will be deemed to be included in Appendix 1, and trade in them will be regulated accordingly. In the interest of time, I would like to state that the justification given in our previous presentation on the white rhino proposal applies here as well. Chairperson, Namibia as a country hosts a third of the global black rhino population and has grown the species from near extinction in the 1990s to its current number. This has been achieved through sustainable conservation principles and a community-centered approach. Namibia has increased its black rhino population in national parks throughout the country and can boast that it's the only country in the world with more than 1,000 of the species in a single park. New programs were put in place, such as the custodian program, enabling freehold farmers and community conservancies to become custodians of black rhino and benefit through tourism. This program is the most successful of its kind for the species. Having said this, black rhinos are wholly owned by the state in Namibia, and it's the burden of the state to protect these animals from illegal wildlife trafficking. Namibia's black rhino population has now reached a critical threshold in that it's very difficult for the country to continue to successfully grow the species numbers and at the same time protect the animals against illegal wildlife crime. Namibia is a country with a relatively small GDP, and recent foreign donor cuts have resulted in Namibia having no choice but to look for sustainable means to generating revenue to continue to grow black rhino numbers and protect these iconic animals. Rhino horns proposed to be sold are from management practices such as dehorning operations and natural mortality, hence no animal will be killed for the proposed trade. Even rhinos of illegal origin will not be traded in. Chair would not want to resort to trading outside of the CITES framework. That is why we have brought this proposal here. We therefore plead with parties present here to support our proposal for the continued survival of the species in the world. I so submit, Chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Namibia. I open now the floor for parties, for comments from parties. I see Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan commends Namibia for its successful conservation of black rhino while bearing significant financial burdens for anti-poaching measures and rhino horn stockpile management, and for maintaining a stable population of this species. Japan supports this proposal in line with its position on Proposal 9. Regarding the downlisting, the population of southern western black rhinoceros in Namibia has doubled over the past 20 years due to the conservation efforts and currently does not meet the biological criteria for Appendix 1 listing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Japan. Eswatini.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, Eswatini congratulates Namibia for this proposal on the downlisting of southwestern black rhinos. Indeed, Namibia has seen an incredible overseen an incredible recovery of the southwestern black rhinos from critically low numbers within my own lifetime. This is a very commendable achievement. These rhinos have now been distributed to protected areas, to community areas, to private areas, and also to neighboring countries. It is highly significant that this species is running out of available range due to successful conservation efforts, and a downlisting would add value to incentivize further range to become available for the populations to grow further. The species is clearly ripe to benefit from well-regulated and incentivized sustainable utilization in the best interests of the species. Eswatini urges parties to support this proposal for downlisting as practical measures, precautionary measures have been met. I submit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eswatini. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We remain committed to stand by Namibia and other African range states of the black rhinoceros in their continued investment in the conservation of this species and their combat against poaching and illegal trade in rhino horn. We acknowledge and congratulate Namibia and other range states in Southwest Africa on the recovery and population increase of the southwestern black rhino population thanks to effective conservation measures, reflected in the IUCN Red List assessment of the subspecies as categorized in 2020. We fully recognize the concerns of Namibia related to the cost associated with this work. However, as stated on the previous listing proposal, rhino poaching and rhino horn trafficking continue at an unacceptable level. We think it is not advisable to resume trade, as this would undermine all efforts done to reduce the demand for this product. The proponent has not sufficiently elaborated on or provided sufficient safeguards how an opening of the legal trade could provide sufficient volumes to displace illegal trade whilst avoiding an increase in poaching or stimulating illegal trade. Additionally, the proponent has not elaborated what effects such trade might have on other rhino range states. We therefore do not believe that the precautionary safeguards are met that would allow for a resumption of trade. We therefore oppose this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I now have Kenya.
Thank you, Chairman. Like others, we'll want to commend the conservation effort that is being done by Namibia. Chair, Kenya hosts the largest population of the eastern black rhino, and we have seen significant growth in this population, but in closed intensive protection zone because of the continued appetite for the rhino horn and the risks of poaching. At a huge investment, we've been able to sustain a zero poaching level, but investing in one rhino to a man and diverting funding that could go to range expansion that is currently a threat. We have 18 rhino sanctuaries under intensive protective zone. All of them are above carrying capacity. We are opening up these fences, introducing legal trade at this stage, just as said by EU, will be detrimental to the efforts we have achieved during the ban. We therefore, with due respect, oppose the reopening of the rhino horn trade for the same reasons also that we raised during the discussion of the white rhino. The black rhino is actually critically endangered under the IUCN listing. So it's even in more precarious situation. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Nous nous alignons derrière la position du Kenya qui va à l'encontre de cette proposition. En effet, cette proposition va à l'encontre du principe de précaution, des objectifs de conservation à long terme et des engagements internationaux visant à protéger les espèces les plus menacées. Maintenir le rhinocéros noir à l'annexe 1 est non seulement justifié, mais indispensable pour garantir sa survie. Nous appelons donc toutes les parties à rejeter résolument cette proposition dans l'intérêt de la conservation et de la lutte contre le commerce illégal des espèces sauvages. Merci.
Thank you. Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana welcomes the proposal 10 by Namibia to downlist a population of southwestern black rhino with an annotation limiting trade to registered government-owned rawhorn. As previously expressed, Chair, Botswana wishes to advance her strongest support for this proposal and calls upon all parties to support all efforts to incentivize range states such as Namibia, who have invested considerable effort and resources to protect their rhino. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have 6 more species. 6 more parties asking for the floor, so I will close the speakers list now. I will give the floor to Benin. You have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Nous reconnaissons les efforts qui sont consentis au niveau de la Namibie, mais nous reconnaissons également la portée néfaste que pourrait avoir une telle proposition et nous nous opposons à la proposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States complements the conservation efforts of Namibia. We align ourselves with the comments from the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you. Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme je l'avais dit tout à l'heure pour le rhinocéros blanc, la République centrafricaine fait partie de l'aire de répartition de cette espèce qui est en déclin et qui subit une pression. Et donc, la République centrafricaine ne valide pas cette proposition, rejette la proposition formulée par la Namibie. Merci.
Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Again, Zimbabwe congratulates Namibia for the great conservation efforts, and we are in support of Namibia's proposal to downlist the black rhino population from Appendix 1 to 2. And again, we align ourselves with comments made by Botswana and Eswatini. We urge other parties to support Namibia in this initiative. And again, maybe we might need to have a dialogue meeting to discuss sustainable financing and securing the rhino range in Africa, because that's what Namibia is looking for, and we need a Southern Africa as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous reconnaissons en tout cas les efforts consentis par nos différents États dans la conservation de nos espèces sauvages, mais cela ne nous permet pas de contribuer en tout cas à l'ouverture d'une certaine opportunité à des braconniers ou bien au développement du commerce illégal de nos espèces. Et pour ce fait, nous nous opposons à cette proposition. Merci bien, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Niger. Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. Tanzania support the proposal. Thank you.
And last speaker, Zambia.
Thank you, Chair. Zambia would like to align with the other members who supported, the other parties who supported the proposal by Namibia, and we wish to reiterate Zimbabwe's call that maybe we should have a dialogue meeting to discuss financing for conservation of rhinos. Thank you.
Thank you, Zambia. Before I turn back to Namibia, how we want to proceed, I give the floor to IGOs and NGOs. I see Born Free Foundation.
Thank you, Chair. I'm giving this intervention on behalf of 16 observer organizations. We oppose the proposal to amend the annotation for Namibia's population of black rhino and support the interventions made by Kenya, Senegal, Benin, Central African Republic, Niger, and others. The black rhino clearly meets the criteria for Appendix 1 set out in ResConf 9.24 Rev CoP17. As Kenya noted, the species is classified as critically endangered by the IUCN, has a small population, and is threatened by poaching and illegal trade. As of the end of 2024, there were an estimated 6,788 black rhinos remaining in Africa. While the continental population has increased slightly in recent years, Namibia's own population showed a decrease between 2022 and 2024 to fewer than 2,100 individuals, due largely to poaching. The threats posed by trade on rhino populations that were repeatedly raised during discussion of the previous proposal are all relevant to Proposal 10 as well, but the risks are even higher, given the black rhino's critically endangered status. Poaching and rhino horn trafficking remain major threats to rhino populations globally, and allowing trade would increase demand and exacerbate threats posed by poaching and trafficking. Once again, we are concerned that Namibia does not appear to have consulted with other rhino range states on this proposal, despite the risks to all rhino populations from the potential negative impacts of trade if this proposal is adopted. We therefore encourage a more inclusive approach by the proponent in future, and we urge parties to maintain the prohibition on international commercial rhino horn trade and not approve this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have an organization asking for the floor, which is named Horn Nam. I suppose it has to be something with rhino horns in Namibia, but I would like to give you the floor and ask you to say who you are.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we are called Help Our Rhinos Now Namibia. So we are an organization that stands for the private rhino owners and the black rhino custodians in Namibia. So thank you, Chair. I stand before you not as a politician, but as a simple farmer and rhino owner from Namibia. In the Kunene region of Namibia, we do not always wake up to the sound of birds, but sometimes to the sound of gunshots. We race through the darkness, praying to arrive in time to save a rhino's life. We hold calves shaking beside their mothers' dead bodies, and we bury animals that we raise like our own family. Delegates, this is not a mismanagement, this is not neglect, this is war. And the people fighting it, farmers, communities, and rangers, are running out of options, out of time, and out of resources. The truth is simple. Poachers are funded, we are not. Criminals, syndicates have money, weapons, night vision equipment, and international markets that rewards brutality. We have families' passion and a responsibility to protect an animal the world claims to love, but too often refuses to fund. The rhino is renewable. It grows back like your own fingernails. When harvested ethically under veterinarian supervision, no animal is harmed or are killed. Yet we sit with stockpiles of legal, traceable, blood-free horn, while poachers become millionaires for supplying the same product but through killing. More than 10,000 rhinos have been lost since 2008, not because of sustainable use failed, but because sustainable use was never allowed to succeed due to the ban on the sale of sustainable harvested legal rhino horn. Today we are asking for a regulated, transparent, traceable, enforceable system that includes DNA-registered horn, microchipping, QR code identification, veterinary oversight, and full CITES compliance. With these precautionary measures already in place, we believe Namibia does meet the criteria highlighted in the Secretariat's recommended rejection. A system already proven by Appendix 1 trophy export, a system that would transfer rhino horn into funding for protection, that turns rhinos into assets instead of targets and burdens, and make them worth more alive than dead. Delegates, the future of the rhino is not decided in the bush by the very people who protect them. It's decided in rooms like this by people like yourselves. Africa's farmers and custodians have been left to carry the bodies while criminals carry the profit. This cannot continue. I stand here as a father who made a promise, and I'm asking you to help me to keep it. Do the right thing and don't let the rhino disappear from Africa. Help us give this species a future, not a memorial. We therefore ask parties to please vote for this proposal, vote for the rhino species. I thank you.
Thank you. So with this, we have heard some support, a lot of opposition. So I would like to go back to Namibia to ask you how you want to proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, we appreciate the interventions. Chair, we are amenable to Zimbabwe's proposal for a dialogue amongst range states. We regard it very, very imperative for that conversation to be had so that we can then see which way we're going to go. While at that, and similar to the previous proposal, I would want us to have this put to a vote, secret ballot, so that we can then get going. Thank you.
Thank you, Namibia. So you have heard, Namibia has asked for a vote, and this vote to be a secret ballot. So I need 10 parties seconding that wish for secret ballot. Okay, so that's good. Leave your lights on. So I have Botswana, Congo, Central African Republic, Kazakhstan, Tanzania, Namibia, Eswatini, China, Zimbabwe, Russian Federation, Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Mozambique, and Zambia. Okay, so this is a vote for Proposal 10. This on Disoceros bicornis, the southwestern black rhinoceros. It's a proposal to transfer that species, that population of the species from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2 with an annotation to allow the sale of rhino horn under certain conditions. The voting type is by secret ballot. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a substantive proposal for amendment of Appendices 1 and 2, the decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. The technicians are ready. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Technicians, can you please display the results on the screen? With 28 votes in favor, 80 votes against, and 9 abstentions, proposal CoP20, proposal 10 to transfer Diceros picornis from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2 with an annotation to allow the sale of rhino horn was rejected. I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of transparency, the United States would like to record that it voted no on this proposal. Thank you.
UK.
For the interests of transparency, the UK would like to note that it opposed the proposal. Thank you.
European Union.
In the interest of transparency, the EU would like to note for the record that we voted against this proposal. Thank you.
And China.
Thank you, Chair. Carry on the spirit of sustainable use. China wants to indicate that we vote yes for this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Thank you. Now I would like to go to the next proposal, which is CoP20, Proposal 13 on Loxodonta africana, the African elephant. It is a proposal to allow Namibia to trade in registered stocks of raw ivory. I would like to invite Namibia to introduce the document, and in your document, please be precise what you exactly want to have change on the current state of your population, so that we are perfectly clear what we are going to discuss. So Namibia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much once again for the floor, Chair. Proposal 13 has been prepared and submitted by Namibia. In a nutshell, the proposal is here requesting Namibia to be allowed to trade in its stockpile of raw ivory emanating from natural mortalities and management practices only, and also for the standard listing of our elephant population in Appendix 2 without any annotation. Chair, the Namibian elephant population has been increasing, not endangered, and in fact, it doesn't even qualify to be listed on any of the CITES appendices at all. Given its conservation status, records of illegal killing of elephants and trade in elephant specimens of Namibian origin are also insignificant. And all this is due to the efforts, including financial commitments by the Namibian government with limited assistance from our development partners. As we are all aware, there's donor fatigue in the world of conservation. We're therefore requesting this conference of the parties to allow us to sell our elephant specimens, including ivory, without any unwarranted restrictions to generate funds for conservation and community development programs. Our local communities are bearing the brunt of living with over 21,000 elephants, as none of our elephants are 100% confined in formal protected areas. If the convention continues blocking pro-conservation proposals and ignoring the importance and the plea of local communities, this will lead to a conservation catastrophe. Elephant population in Southern Africa countries will soon be negatively affected by the anti-trade approach being adopted by this very convention, which is supposed to be facilitating trade. We have taken note of the concerns raised by some parties and organizations regarding our proposal. It is our view that using a narrative that legal trade will stimulate illegal trade and killing in other countries should not be used as an excuse to punish countries who are trying to do their level best in managing their elephant populations with difficulties and limited resources. The issue of the lack of trading partners will be dealt with in exactly the same manner as that of 1997. There are no requirements that a proposal should identify trading partners in advance. Funding for the Secretariat to facilitate this trade as previously done, especially during 1997, should not be used to block this sale. The aim of the convention is to facilitate trade, hence the Secretariat should ensure that that happens if approval is granted by the parties. With that short introduction, Chair, Namibia is today requesting parties present here to favorably consider our proposal to dispose of our ivory stockpile of legal origin only, to support our management efforts and community development programs, as well as to allow our elephant population to be fully listed on Appendix 2 without any annotation. We maintain, Chair, that no single elephant will be killed for the purpose of this trade. Chair, I submit and I thank you, and I thank all distinguished delegates. I so submit.
Thank you, Namibia. So we have now clarification. This is a proposal to delete all annotations from the population of Namibia in Appendix 2 of the African elephant. So that's a clarification. So now we know exactly what we are looking at. So I would like to open the floor to parties on this proposal. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Distingués délégués, le Sénégal reconnaît l'engagement de la Namibie au sein de la CITES, mais ne peut soutenir la proposition 13. Autoriser le commerce international d'ivoire brut remettrait en cause des décennies d'efforts mondiaux pour maintenir l'interdiction des ventes, fermer les marchés intérieurs, réduire la demande et renforcer la lutte contre le braconnage et le trafic. Cette proposition contredit également la résolution adoptée par l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies en juin 2025 qui appelle à la fermeture urgente de tous les marchés légaux de l'ivoire. Les données MAEC et ETIS montrent clairement que la vente exceptionnelle de 2008 a entraîné une hausse du braconnage et du trafic international, un risque que nous ne pouvons ignorer. Nous notons en outre l'absence de consultation des États de l'aire de répartition concernés, ainsi qu'un manque d'analyse des impacts écologiques, commerciaux et sécuritaires. La cohérence avec la proposition 14 n'est pas démontrée, comme l'a souligné le secrétariat. Pour toutes ces raisons, et pour la préservation de l'éléphant d'Afrique, le Sénégal ne peut appuyer la proposition 13. Et nous demandons aux partis de ne pas soutenir cette proposition. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana is a range state of the African elephant and fully supports efforts by Namibia to put forward what we consider as a very reasonable proposal to trade in elephant ivory. It must be pointed out, Chair, that this ivory consists of registered government-owned raw ivory and will be traded to verified partners. And this will also allow Namibia's elephants to fully operate under an Appendix 2 listing. Botswana has also previously benefited from one-off sales of elephant ivory, and the revenues have gone into the conservation of the African elephant and to community development within the elephant range. We therefore call upon the Conference of Parties to fully support Namibia in her own efforts to ensure that elephants continue to be conserved into the future and that communities benefit meaningfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Botswana. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the EU and its member states. We acknowledge and appreciate the work carried out by Namibia in protecting the population of Loxodonta africana. We are also aware of the financial burden connected to protecting endangered species, in particular from wildlife trafficking and of potential human-wildlife conflict. In this regard, we invite parties to consider funding the African Elephant Fund, which, for example, supports projects linked to human-elephant conflict. However, we oppose the proposal as the reopening of international trade in elephant ivory would negate all the work done by parties to close down markets that may contribute to illegal trade. Moreover, it may also lead to a new spike in poaching and illegal trade in ivory, fueled by increased demand and thereby undermine demand reduction actions. As both poaching and illegal trade is still at high levels, reopening trade would make combating these issues difficult. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, European Union. I now have Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya wishes to express its compliments to the elephant conservation work being done by Namibia. However, we'll wish to express our opposition to reopening commercial ivory trade because it will undermine decades of international efforts to close domestic ivory markets and reduce global demand. African elephants are already under immense pressure, not only from ivory trafficking and poaching, but also from human-elephant conflict, habitat loss, and increasingly frequent droughts resulting from climate change. Mr. Chairman, adding new pressures to populations already facing such cumulative threats makes no sense from conservation perspective and runs directly counter to the precautionary approach that should guide our decisions. Just like the comments made by the EU and in regard to the proposals that we all have agreed as Africa region on sustainable financing, we'll be calling upon the donors, donor community, institutions, financial institutions, to support the implementation of the African Elephant Action Plan. Our priority one currently is to address issues of human-elephant conflict across the range. We therefore regrettably strongly recommend rejecting CoP20, Proposal 13. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous estimons que plusieurs années ont été consenties pour la protection de l'éléphant. Et aujourd'hui, réouvrir le commerce de l'éléphant serait se moquer du travail que nous avions abattu en amont. Et par conséquent, faisons miennes les contributions et les suggestions du Sénégal et de l'Union européenne et demandons à l'ensemble des délégués ici de rejeter cette proposition. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Togo.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Togo reconnaît également la participation active de la Namibie aux travaux de la CITES. Toutefois, comme pour toutes les propositions antérieures visant à rouvrir le commerce de l'ivoire et prenant en compte les données de Mike et CITES, qui sont sans équivoque. Déjà, il a été relevé par Mike et CITES que la vente exceptionnelle de 2008 a été suivie d'une hausse significative du braconnage et d'un pic de trafic international. Pour toutes ces raisons, le Togo ne soutient pas la proposition 13. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan commends Namibia for its successful conservation outcomes resulting in this proposal to achieve full status of Appendix 2 population, and we support this proposal for the following two reasons. First, population of the African elephant in Namibia has been increasing. Second, upon adoption of this proposal and the resumption of international ivory trade, all proceeds from such trade will be reinvested in elephant conservation in Namibia. Elephant conservation requires addressing a wide range of challenges, including mitigating human-elephant conflict, preventing habitat loss, and combating poaching and illegal trade. These efforts are complex and costly. Reinvesting the proceeds from international trade can contribute to the further conservation of African elephants. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, le Niger exprime pleinement ses préoccupations telles que soulevées par le Sénégal, le Kenya, le Togo et l'Union européenne. À cela, nous ajouterons aussi que les données disponibles prouvent que toute ouverture, même limitée, alimente le braconnage et le trafic international. À l'absence donc des garanties solides en compte et compte tenu du risque pour l'ensemble des populations d'éléphants, nous, en tant que pays de l'aide de répartition de l'éléphant d'Afrique, nous nous opposons à cette proposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Niger. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States aligns ourselves with the comments from the European Union in opposition of this proposal to allow Namibia to trade in raw ivory for commercial purposes. We are also concerned that the proposal failed to provide the text of amendments within 150 days of the meeting to either add language to or delete language from the appendices, and therefore may not be appropriately considered at the present meeting. Thank you.
Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. United Republic of Tanzania wishes to commend Namibia for their effort in elephant conservation. Tanzania has the third largest population of elephants, and the cost of conserving elephants is increasing day by day, but the resources to cater for conservation of elephants are diminishing over time. So the proposal by Namibia really look for resources to ensure that elephants are conserved and people are happy. It looks like it's a bad day for Namibia, but as United Republic of Tanzania, we encourage them to keep their hope high. For this reason, we strongly support this proposal and call for other countries at least to support for this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Sudan.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan opposed proposal by Namibia. However, we recognize the effort done by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudan. Burkina Faso.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Et le Burkina Faso est de répartition donc de l'éléphant s'oppose à cette proposition. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. I will allow 5 more parties to speak. So, Benin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Bénin, une fois encore, reconnaît tous les efforts qui sont faits par la Namibie, comprend les raisons qui ont été évoquées, mais partage la crainte de l'ensemble des pays qui m'ont devancé quant au risque qui adviendrait lorsque cette proposition serait acceptée. Et donc le Bénin s'oppose donc à cette proposition. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine est un État faisant partie de l'ère de répartition de l'éléphant, s'oppose à l'ouverture du commerce d'ivoire brut qui stimulerait la demande, le braconnage et saperait les efforts internationaux visant à fermer les marchés nationaux de l'ivoire. La RCA, en tant que pays de l'ère de répartition, rejette cette proposition formulée par la Namibie. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. China.
Thank you, Chair. For many years, CITES has shown its shortcoming to deal with widely but unevenly distributed species, and we see it again today. And we feel sorry for those countries achieving successful conservation outcomes kept being punished, while those countries have no substantial success. Come to blame those parties. China does not believe the risks mentioned by many parties are real, and China supports this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Mali.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Mali a l'honneur d'exprimer son opposition à la proposition 13 visant à retirer l'éléphant d'Afrique de l'annexe 2 de la CITES. Notre pays abrite encore l'une des dernières populations sahéliennes. Les menaces qui pèsent sur l'éléphant d'Afrique dépassent largement les frontières nationales, malgré les efforts soutenus du Mali et de ses pays voisins, notamment à travers la gestion du gourmand, la création d'aires protégées et la participation à des initiatives régionales de conservation. Les pressions liées au commerce international continuent à fragiliser l'espèce. Retirer l'éléphant d'Afrique de l'annexe 2 ouvrira la voie à une augmentation du commerce international légal comme illégal et pourrait réduire le déclin que si ça se poursuivait, la nécessité c'est de le transférer à l'annexe 1. Le Mali appelle donc l'ensemble des parties à rejeter cette proposition au nom de la rigueur scientifique et de la cohérence entre les instruments internationaux et de voir notre responsabilité collective de préserver une espèce emblématique du Sahel. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mali. Burundi.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Burundi s'oppose aussi à la proposition de la Namibie, car une telle proposition ne fera qu'augmenter le braconnage et le commerce illégal. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. And finally, Zambia.
Thank you, Chair. Zambia supports the proposal by Namibia. Thank you.
Thank you. Before going back to Namibia on how to proceed, I would like to open the floor for IGOs and NGOs. I see IWMC.
Thank you, Chair. It is believed that once a human being reaches the age of 50, he has attained a high level of maturity and as well a good level of wisdom, which allow him to admit its mistake and search for different solutions to problems that he has not been able to solve. CITES is turning 50 this year, and we could expect that it has learned from the lesson of the past. However, CITES continues to apply solutions which have proven to be damageable to both its conservation objective and the human population sharing the habitat with the species covered. And as well, CITES continues to reject very important solutions that are proven to be efficient in order of human activities. I sincerely hope, Chair, that it will not take another 50 years before CITES reaches its maturity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, IWMC. And I have Center for Biological Diversity.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of 16 organizations. African savanna elephants are assessed as endangered by IUCN. Opening trade in their ivory would undermine elephant conservation and spark significant illegal ivory trade. Namibia's proposal to resume illegal ivory trade, even at the scale of one country, would create new demand for ivory, resulting in increased poaching and trafficking. We must learn from CITES history. As Senegal and Togo noted, the 2008 one-off sale of ivory led to a significant increase in poaching and illegal ivory seizures surrounding that sale. The ivory ban is a central pillar of CITES. We must not allow it to crumble. Doing so would be detrimental to all elephants, as well as our efforts to curb illegal wildlife trade, especially because ivory is often trafficked with other wildlife specimens. We were pleased to see the efforts made by African elephant range states during their meetings in September last year and this past April to share their positions on ivory trade. We're concerned that this proposal undermines those efforts, and we urge its rejection. We thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And the last speaker is Stellenbosch University. Then I will turn back to Namibia.
Thank you, Chair. I speak as a young African researcher from the communities that live closest to wildlife. Firstly, I wish to congratulate Namibia for its long-standing conservation leadership. For decades, Namibia's management systems have delivered measurable gains in wildlife populations, habitat protection, and local stewardships. These achievements deserve recognition. Wildlife has expanded under regulated, incentive-based conservation models. And in several areas, elephant densities are now placing pressure on ecosystems and increasing human-wildlife conflict, a challenge that stems from conservation success, not decline. The concern raised today is that allowing limited, regulated ivory trade will undermine decades of CITES work. But, Chair, we must also consider another risk. When conservation success and the communities are still denied the legal use of wildlife they have protected, and that success begins to feel like punishment and not partnership. People who coexist with elephants carry the real costs. Lost crops, damaged water points, threats to safety, and rising conflict. If CITES is committed to addressing human-wildlife conflict, then the perspectives of those that bear that conflict cannot remain secondary. I urge all parties to let evidence lead and not fear.
Thank you. So I would turn back now to Namibia. You have heard the discussion. We have a split room and a lot of opposition to your proposal. Can you please tell me how you want to proceed?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the interventions. We want it to be put to a vote, a secret ballot, so that we just have the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Namibia. That's what we will do then. So Namibia has asked for a vote, and this vote to be secret. So I would like to ask parties to push the button that are supporting that motion to have a secret ballot. Thank you. So please keep your buttons pressed. So I have... Huh? So it is Zambia, Central African Republic, China, Kazakhstan, Mozambique, Equatorial Guinea, Russian Federation, Namibia, Congo, Zimbabwe, Gabon. Okay, so we have 10. So we now proceed to a vote. This is a vote for Proposal 13 on Loxodonta africana, the African elephant, to delete all annotations to the population of Namibia in Appendix 2, which would allow Namibia to trade in ivory. If you vote yes, you are in favor of this proposal from Namibia. If you vote no, you are against. So the voting type is a secret ballot. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a vote on a proposal for amendment of Appendices 1 or 2, the decision will be adopted by a 2/3 majority. The technicians are ready, so parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Technicians, can you please display the results? So with 22 votes in favor, 81 against, and 14 abstentions, the proposal 13 to delete all annotations from the population of Namibia of the African elephant in Appendix 2 was rejected. I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Chair. Again, in light of transparency, the United States would like to note that we voted no on this proposal. Thank you.
United Kingdom.
For transparency, the UK voted to oppose the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
European Union.
Thank you, Chair. For the sake of transparency, the EU voted to oppose the proposal.
Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Pour des raisons de transparence, on voulait confirmer que le Comore a voté non à cette proposition.
Thank you. So with this, we can now move on to the next proposal, which is CoP20 Proposal 14 on Loxodonta africana, to amend the annotation A10 to harmonize the conditions of trade in live African elephants. The proponents are Botswana, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. I see Botswana has asked for the floor, so Botswana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for this opportunity to present CoP20, Proposal 14, on the amendment to annotation A10. The proposal, Chair, makes reference to amendments to annotation A10 pertaining to the elephant populations of Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe to harmonize the conditions of trade in live African elephants. This is for the exclusive purpose of allowing A, trade in hunting trophies for non-commercial purposes, B, trade in live animals to appropriate and acceptable destinations, C, trade in elephant hides, D, trade in elephant hair, E, trade in leather goods, F, trade for non-commercial purposes in individually marked and certified equipas incorporated in finished jewelry for Namibia and ivory carvings for Zimbabwe. Chair, this proposal is the result of intensive discussions that took place during the African Elephant Dialogue meeting held in Botswana in 2024. We wish to express our appreciation to the African elephant range states for their constructive dialogue and input into the crafting of this amendment, and we look forward to its acceptance by the Conference of Parties. I thank you.
Thank you, Botswana. I now open the floor to comments from parties. I see Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous saluons l'objectif de simplification de la notation A10 présenté dans cette proposition, en particulier la suppression des paragraphes G et H, désormais obsolètes. Sur ce point, nous reconnaissons pleinement le travail accompli. Cela étant, Monsieur le Président, nous souhaitons apporter 2 ajustements techniques afin de lever tout doute sur l'interprétation du texte concernant le commerce des éléphants vivants. Premièrement, au paragraphe B, nous soutenons l'insertion d'une définition précise des termes destinateurs appropriés et acceptables, fondés mot pour mot sur la résolution CONF 11.20 adoptée par la 18e conférence des parties. Cette clarification apporte la sécurité juridique nécessaire et assure une application uniforme entre les parties, tout en prévoyant des exceptions strictes et encadrées par les situations d'urgence ou les transferts réellement bénéfiques à la conservation in situ. Deuxièmement, Monsieur le Président, nous proposons également une clarification à la dernière phrase de la notation A10 en remplaçant tous les autres spécimens par tous les autres parties et produits dérivés. Cette précision permet une interprétation uniforme de cette phrase qui n'a jamais été pensée pour autoriser le commerce d'éléphants vivants. Ces ajustements, Monsieur le Président, sont intégralement conformes aux règles 24 et 25 du règlement intérieur. Il vise uniquement à clarifier le contenu de la proposition 14 afin d'assurer son interprétation uniforme. Dans cet esprit d'adopter une proposition commune de transparence et de responsabilité envers nos éléphants, nous invitons les parties à soutenir les ajustements proposés. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
So, Benin.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les modifications qui ont été proposées reflètent un ensemble de discussions qui ont eu lieu et également ont été débattues au niveau de la région Afrique. Et au niveau de cette région, nous étions arrivés à un consensus sur ce qui a été proposé. Nous invitons donc les parties à considérer les propositions qui ont été faites et à analyser si les ajustements proposés apportent des modifications de fond. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Benin. Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Côte d'Ivoire, qui est co-auteur de cette proposition, prend la parole pour demander le soutien de toutes les parties à la proposition 14. Cette proposition n'a d'autre but que de simplifier et harmoniser juridiquement la notation. Monsieur le Président, je vous remercie.
Thank you. South Africa.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in the interest of time, I will not make substantive statements because that has been made by my colleagues before me or the parties. But we also request that this proposal be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya would like to thank Botswana for hosting the range states and also acknowledge the work work that has gone into this process. Chair, we have listened to the comments that have been made by Niger to try and bring a clear, robust, and coherent annotation is essential. And I think what they are proposing do not amount to changing the original agreement that we had, and we'll want to support the amendments. In case the range states did not get Niger, I think we need to give the opportunity for the range states to look at the amendments that have been proposed during their intersessional working, so that we consider the voices of everybody in the annotation. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kenya. Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Dans la résolution, j'ai vu qu'on a mentionné un consensus de la région Afrique. C'est vrai qu'il y a un consensus, mais la résolution est portée par 5 États. Pour que le consensus soit total et que les amendements proposés par le Niger et appuyés par le Kenya peuvent aller dans le sens d'avoir un consensus total, je pense que je vais appuyer ces amendements-là proposés par le Niger. Et pour cela, il faudrait que vraiment tous les autres partis, dans le sens d'aller vers un consensus total, vraiment, si ça ne modifie pas les fonds de cette résolution-là, qu'on puisse l'accepter et avancer. Je pense que ici, les uns et les autres ne veulent pas rompre ce consensus. Ces petits ajustements permettraient d'aller de l'avant et de pouvoir quand même avoir un consensus total de la région Afrique. Donc j'appuie les modifications proposées par le Niger et soutenues par le Kenya.
Thank you. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States would like to thank Botswana for hosting the CITES dialogue meeting for African elephant range states, Botswana and Cote d'Ivoire for serving as vice chairs of the meeting, the participating African elephant range states, the Secretariat for organizing, and the several parties that provided funding to support convening the meeting. With respect to the amendments to annotation A10 outlined in the proposal, we would like to note 3 typos that we strongly suggest are corrected. First, there is an "and" missing after little e as a consequence of the proposed deletion of little g and little h. Second, for the same reason, there is a period missing at the end of little f to replace the semicolon. Third, the period should not be deleted at the end of the second to last sentence of the annotation. We hope that these are acceptable technical edits by consensus. We note that the Secretariat has clarified in their provisional assessment outlined in notification to the parties number 2025-102 that the proposed amendments to little f are non-substantive and merely to delete the repetitive use of the phrase "for non-commercial purposes" and to move it forward in the sentence so it applies to both Iquipas and ivory carbons traded for Namibia and Zimbabwe respectively. We share the Secretariat's reading that the paragraph continues to apply only to trade for non-commercial purposes, and we can support this amendment only if this intention is reflected in the summary record to avoid future confusion. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. Zimbabwe is a co-proponent to Proposal 14 as presented by Botswana. And this is a result of a lot of effort that was put in by the elephant range states and a lot of meetings that we did to present this document. And on this, we also want to appreciate the people, the countries who funded the workshop, and also the CITES Secretariat. We urge other parties to support this outcome, and we are also in agreement with the proposals with the edits as suggested by the US. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Zambia.
Thank you, Chair. Zambia is in support of the proposal presented by Botswana as is, and maybe with the amendments from the US. Thank you.
Namibia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Namibia is one of the proponents to this proposal, and we fully support the original proposal as it was introduced by Botswana and edits as it was proposed by the United States. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Namibia. I have the Comores.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les Comores, comme tous les autres pays, viennent de remercier les pays ayant abrité la rencontre. Et nous soutenons forcément les ajustements faits par le Niger qui a été appuyé par le Kenya. Merci beaucoup.
I have China now.
Thank you, Chair. China commends the consensus made by range states. China simply wants to seek a clarification on phrase "this trade" in the second to the last paragraph. With the deletion of subparagraph G and H, this trade stands for which trade? We believe that this is an opportunity to better specify which trade and put an end to the confusion with this extensive annotation. Thank you, Chair.
Our interpretation is that with this trade, everything that is above is mentioned. Okay, I have now Cameroon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun est co-auteur de cette proposition et appuie la proposition du Botswana avec les amendements des États-Unis.
Now I have Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Japan welcomes the outcome from the dialogue meeting. We support the proposal with the amendment by the US based on the intensive discussions at the dialogue meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Niger, just to come back to you and to be clear, so you are amending that proposal, so do you consider it to be an amended proposal, so we would have then two proposals on the table, the original one as submitted by the four parties and your proposal with the changes proposed. Is that correct, Niger?
Oui, c'est bien ça, Monsieur le Président. Donc, nous, c'est juste avec les ajustements qu'on a apportés.
Okay, but to be absolutely clear, what we are looking at in the amended proposal by Niger, so you want that in the amended annotation A10 under letter B, you want to have the whole definition what an acceptable and appropriate destination is, according to definition in Resolution Conf 1120, to read, so the whole paragraph would read B, trade in live animals to appropriate and acceptable destinations, defined to mean in situ conservation programs or secure areas in the wild within the species' natural and historical range in Africa, except in exceptional circumstances where, in consultation with the Animals Committee through its chair with the support of the Secretariat, and in consultation with the IUCN Elephant Specialist Group, it is considered that the transfer to ex situ locations will provide demonstrable in situ conservation benefits for African elephants, or in the case of temporary transfers in emergency situation. Is that what you want to have introduced into letter B?
Oui, Monsieur le Président. En fait, c'est juste des amendements de clarification, donc pour ne pas porter confusion à toute expression, mais qui ne change pas la portée de la proposition.
Thank you, Niger. So that's what you wanted to have in there, and then you also, in addition, you wanted to have at the end all other specimens you wanted to have, instead of specimens, you wanted to have all other parts and derivatives shall be deemed to be specimens of species included in the Appendix 1, and the trade in them shall be regulated accordingly, right?
Oui, c'est bien ça.
So these two amendments are the differences between the two proposals that we are looking at now. Yes, Niger?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, c'est bien cela.
European Union?
Thank you. We would just like to request clarification from Niger as to the intention behind this second amendment. So just to explain the rationale for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. And then I will also, I would like to ask Niger to clarify why you want to have this amendment made.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Merci également à l'Union européenne pour cette demande d'éclaircissement. En fait, il s'agit tout simplement qu'il y ait une précision permettant donc d'éviter toute interprétation et d'uniformiser aussi la phrase par rapport donc aux spécimens, tous les autres spécimens. Donc à cela, à la place de tous les autres spécimens, nous suggérons tous les autres parties et produits divers et dérivés. Donc cela va en tout cas permettre à ce que ça soit clair dans la notation, que, puisque tous les autres spécimens peuvent avoir une autre explication, puisqu'il peut y avoir des spécimens vivants, tout comme il peut y avoir des spécimens non vivants. Merci.
Thank you, Niger. I will have to ask the interpreters if you can bear with us a little bit more. Oh, okay, thank you very much for your indulgence. I now have Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. I think we wanted to support the clarification that Niger's made again in one. It does not change. It is what is there in the resolution. We want it just word by word. And also, the point on the specimens, if I get him right, that this clarification will ensure that the clause cannot be used for export of live elephants under Appendix 1. And this was never the intention of that sentence. And I think when it is parts and derivatives, then it excludes the live elephants.
Thank you, Kenya. Okay, so now we have two proposals, one amended and the original one. And according to Rule 25, I think we have to go to a vote on these two proposals. One, and the first proposal that we will vote on will be the amended proposal by Niger, because it is furthest away from the original proposal. So if I don't see, I see Senegal. Senegal, you have asked for the floor.
Oui, c'était pour... Est-ce qu'il y a un moyen d'éviter le vote? Puisque ce que nous voulons, c'est un consensus total. Je pense que les légères modifications apportées par le Niger peuvent être acceptées pour avoir un consensus total. Ce qui a été recherché depuis la réunion du Botswana jusqu'à présent. Et je pense que pour cette annotation 10, aller au vote ne me semble pas ce qui est vraiment bien. Donc, si vraiment chacun peut lâcher du lest pour qu'on aille vers un consensus total, ce serait bien pour l'Afrique. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. I haven't heard consensus in the room, so I see Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Let's go to a vote.
Thank you, Chair. This is very disturbing, and we thank you for your wonderful facilitation of this very difficult discussion. Chair, I thought amongst African range states we had consensus on this matter, and perhaps we might need time to try and find each other, because we reached consensus as presented by Benin earlier. We reached consensus on this subject matter, and this is an outcome of a meeting with a communique which was already also adopted by consensus. Perhaps you could give us more time for African Range State to reflect on this, because the amendments that have been read out by Niger, they've come by surprise. We never got to hear about them. Thank you.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. So your suggestion is that we adjourn the debate and give the African region also on this one the time to reflect on the compromise that you had and the amendments now proposed, so that you would then come back on Tuesday, hopefully with a consensus that does not need any further discussion. I see South Africa.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. No, South Africa would support the proposal by Zimbabwe that let Africa talk about this matter at our meeting on Monday, which we've scheduled with other matters, and then revert on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. South Africa. Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. I think we'll align with Zimbabwe for a consultative meeting together with the subject of action on Monday, and we'll revert to you, Chair, on Tuesday.
Okay, perfect. So that is my decision then, that we will adjourn the debate on this matter until Tuesday and give the African region the possibility to reflect on this document and the compromise you had. Okay? So, yes? We are looking whether we have some housekeeping announcements before we let you go into the weekend.
Thank you, Chair. Just to please keep an eye on the website and the app for any working group meetings that will take place on Monday. So we've heard that the African Elephant Range States will meet to discuss a few things, and there might be other working groups, for example, on Saiga and endemics on Monday. So please keep an eye on the app and the website. And then please remember the working groups that are meeting this afternoon directly after the break, and the Bureau at 5. Thanks.
So thank you very much, and thank you very much to the interpreters for their indulgence for the minutes so that we could close this item. So thank you very much and have a nice weekend.